The boss said follow the instructions verbatim. I did, and it shut down the office for a day. Hello Reddit, this is my first post on our malicious compliance, and I've been hesitating for a long time about whether to share this story, because it still evokes mixed feelings in me, from laughter to mild anger, and sometimes even pity. But after I told it to a few friends, they said, that's classic malicious compliance, you have to post it. So here I am. For context, I live in Chicago, USA, and work for a medium-sized logistics company. We specialize in parcel delivery for large retailers like Amazon, Walmart, or Target. There are about 50 people in the office, and thousands of shipments pass through us every day. I'm a 30-year-old administrator, responsible for coordinating warehouse operations, checking inventory, processing paperwork, and all that bureaucratic routine. My boss, let's call him Richard, is a 45-year-old classic authoritarian middle manager. He's one of those who thinks that if you're not running around the office with your tongue hanging out, you're a lazy parasite. He's always nitpicking, writes emails in all caps, calls motivational meetings where he berates everyone for insufficient productivity, and loves to repeat phrases like, "We are a team of winners, not losers." This all started a couple of months ago, around mid-September 2025. We were just entering the hot season, Black Friday was approaching, and shipment volumes had already started to grow like crazy. Richard was in his usual state, constantly grumbling that the team was too relaxed, that we were cutting corners and not following established procedures. We have this ancient manual, a thick book of over 200 pages, published way back in the 2010s when the company was just starting. Everything in it is prescribed down to absurd details: how to check each package step by step, how to fill out forms by hand, how to label boxes with precision to the millimeter. But over the years, we optimized everything. We introduced modern scanners, automated tracking systems, special inventory software. No one reads that manual verbatim because it would turn our work into medieval hard labor. For example, instead of manually opening every box and checking the contents against the manifest, we just scan the barcodes, and if the system gives a green signal, we move on. This saves hours. Richard decided this was all laziness and lack of discipline. One morning, around 8:30, he called the entire team for an emergency meeting in our conference room. We're sitting at the table, drinking coffee from vending machines, which, by the way, is always as bitter as life, and he's standing by the whiteboard with a marker in his hand, like a general before a battle. "I'm tired of your carelessness," he yelled. "From today, you will carry out all instructions from the manual verbatim. No shortcuts, no your smart workarounds. If it says to check every package manually, you check it manually. If it says to document every action in a log with a signature, you document it. I want to see real discipline, not this anarchy of yours." He even handed out a copy of that manual to everyone, old yellowed pages, as if from a museum. My colleagues exchanged glances. Some quietly snickered into their fists, others rolled their eyes to the ceiling. My colleague Sarah, who has been in logistics for 5 years, whispered to me, "This is complete madness. We'll never keep up with the schedule. Does he not understand how much time this will take?" But Richard was unyielding. "Anyone who doesn't comply will get a written warning. Now everyone to work, show me what you're capable of." Honestly, I was one of those Richard wasn't particularly fond of. He was always picking on me, saying I was too independent, didn't show enough enthusiasm, and ignored details. A couple of weeks ago, he reprimanded me in front of everyone for missing some minor form in the daily report, as if it were the end of the world. So at that moment I thought, okay boss, you want it verbatim. Well, you'll get it verbatim, full force. I'm not a mean type, but this was the perfect chance to show him how utterly insane his brilliant idea was. I wasn't planning sabotage. I just decided to carry out the order with all seriousness. That same day after the meeting, I sat down at my desk, opened the manual, and started studying it. God, what boredom. Page 47, section on incoming packages. For each incoming package, 1. Visually inspect the external appearance for damage, including scratches, dents, or tears. 2. Weigh the package on certified scales with an accuracy of 10 grams and record the result. 3. If necessary, open the packaging carefully without damaging the contents and check each item for compliance with the manifest declaration. 4. Record all results in the inspection log with the exact date, time, signature of the responsible person and package number. And so on for every little thing. And we have 500-600 packages per shift daily, imagine. I started small to not attract attention immediately. The first package that day was a large box with electronics from a supplier. Instead of a quick scan, I took the scales, weighed it 2.34 kg as indicated, then carefully opened it because you can't damage client goods, checked each Samsung smartphone inside for serial numbers, condition, and completeness. Then I sat down and wrote in the log, package 12,345, date. September 25, 2025. Time 9:15 a.m. Weight 2.34 kg. External inspection. No damage. Contents: 5 Samsung smartphones model XYZ. Condition: perfect. Manifest compliance. 100% signature. My full name. One package took a whole 10 minutes instead of the usual 30 seconds. By lunch break, I had only processed 20 items, whereas usually it was over 100. Colleagues started to notice. John from the warehouse, a burly guy with a beard, came up to me with coffee in his hand and said, "Dude, what are you doing? We'll fall behind schedule. Clients will complain." I smiled and replied, "Just following the boss's order. Verbatim, no shortcuts." He said it himself. John shook his head, muttered something about idiotic ideas, and went back to the warehouse. The next day, the chaos began to build slowly, but inevitably. I continued in the same vein. Now I moved on to outgoing packages. Section 12 of the manual requires double-checking labels with manual transcription of the recipient's address into a register to avoid errors. I sat and rewrote every address by hand in a special notebook, like in a school dictation notebook. Recipient: John Smith. Address: 123 Main Street, Chicago, IL 60601. Zip code: 60601. Country: USA. My desk was quickly buried in papers, and I even bought a new pack of paper because the old one ran out. Sarah, my colleague, saw this and decided to join. She was also tired of Richard's constant nagging. "If he wants to go back to the Stone Age, so be it," she said to me quietly, and started checking inventory according to the manual, counting every box in the warehouse by hand instead of using the electronic scanner. She walked between the shelves with a notepad, jotting down: Rack A1, Box 1, Contents: Clothing quantity 15 items, Box 2, Electronics quantity 8 items. By the end of the day, we were 150 packages behind schedule. Clients were already calling customer service. "Where is my delivery? You promised it today." And our operators replied, "Sorry for the delay, we are adhering to all procedures to ensure quality." Richard, of course, noticed. On Wednesday morning, he burst into the office, red as a beet, with a bunch of printouts in his hands. "What the hell is going on? Why so many delays? The schedule is on fire." I calmly picked up the manual from my desk and quoted, "Boss, you said verbatim yourself. Here, page 89. Every delay must be documented with a detailed explanation of the reasons. I'm documenting everything properly." He waved his hands as if swatting flies. "That's not what I meant. Use common sense, people." But I replied in an even tone, "You said no shortcuts, verbatim. We are just following your order." The colleagues at that moment started to chuckle quietly, first Sarah, then John, and then others. Then the rest of the team joined in. Even the guys from the IT department, who usually sit in their room with monitors fixing software, decided to join. They started verbatim, following the instructions from the manual for daily data backups. Instead of an automatic script that does everything in minutes, they manually copied files onto old flash drives, as prescribed in Section 18 of the old version of the manual. Flash Drive 1, copy of database for September 25, size 2.5 GB, signature, IT specialist name, and so on for every file. By the end of that week, the office had turned into semi-chaos. Packages were piling up in the warehouse, a real mountain of boxes, like in a post-apocalyptic movie where logistics have collapsed. Clients complained en masse, reviews on our site were falling like stocks during a crisis, and customer service couldn't keep up with the calls. Richard called another meeting on Friday evening. "This is sabotage. Stop this nonsense immediately." But now the whole team chorused his words. Verbatim, boss. "You ordered it yourself." He yelled, waved his arms, even threatened disciplinary action, but he couldn't do anything. We weren't violating. On the contrary, we were executing his order to the letter. During that period, I felt a mix of adrenaline, fatigue, and slight triumph. In the evenings at home, I told my wife about it over dinner, and we laughed until we cried, imagining Richard's face. But at work it was tense. We all knew it couldn't last forever, but we wanted him to finally understand the absurdity of his idea. A couple more weeks passed, and we approached the peak. Black Friday, November 28, 2025. This is our hottest day. Volumes triple, clients expect lightning-fast delivery, and competitors are breathing down our necks. Richard still clung to his idea, but more softly. He sent emails with reminders about balancing efficiency and discipline, as if trying to back down without losing face. We continued our verbatim mode. I was now generating reports in full, Section 15 of the manual. Each day, compile a detailed report on all operations, with copies for management and archives. My reports were thick as encyclopedias, page after page with descriptions of every package, screenshots of labels, handwritten notes, even photos of damages if there were any. The IT department uploaded all this into our old database system, which wasn't designed for such volume. It's from the 2010s, slow as a turtle. And then finally, the climax that changed everything. On Thursday, November 27, the day before Black Friday, we received a record shipment, over 2,000 packages in one day. Me and the whole team verbatim checked them, opened boxes, weighed each one, documented every detail in logs and reports. Reports flew into the system in batches, gigabytes of data. Around 3 p.m., the server started glitching. Pages loaded slowly, software froze for half a minute. The IT guys quickly checked. The database is overloaded with these reports. The manual says to store everything in the main database without automatic archiving or compression. Richard ran to them in a panic. "Fix this immediately, we can't stop." But they calmly replied, "Verbatim, boss, the manual does not allow deleting or modifying data without your written permission in 3 copies. At 5 p.m., the system crashed completely. Screens went black, tracking didn't work, scanners didn't respond, packages couldn't be registered. Clients were furious, phones were ringing off the hook from calls, social media was flooded with complaints. Worst logistics ever. Richard, in despair, called for emergency external IT support, a company specializing in system recovery. They arrived at 7 p.m., looked at it and said, "It will take at least the night and all of the next day to clean the database, restart the servers, and restore the data. We advise closing the office tomorrow." And so it happened. The office had to be closed for the entire day of Black Friday. We lost thousands of dollars, delivery delays, fines from clients, lost contracts, reputational damage. The team went home early, and Richard sat in his office, pale as a ghost, staring at the monitor. The next week on Monday, he called a general meeting, this time without yelling. For the first time, he looked humbled and tired. "I was wrong about this idea of following the manual verbatim," he said, looking at the floor. "It led to chaos that no one wanted. From today, we are returning to efficient methods with a sensible approach to procedures. Sorry for all of this, team. Your efforts showed how important flexibility is." The team applauded quietly, not exuberantly, but with smiles of relief. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Finally, the policy was quickly changed, the manual was updated, sections on automation and intelligent application of rules were added. Now Richard has become softer. He even thanks people for ideas in meetings, asks for the team's opinion before making decisions. The moral of this story is simple but important. Don't be an idiot with rules. If you want discipline, think about the real consequences, not blind adherence. Sometimes common sense is the best procedure. TLDR, boss ordered us to follow an old manual verbatim. We did, the system crashed from overload. The office was closed on Black Friday. The boss apologized and changed the policy. What are your thoughts on this story? Did the author do the right thing? What would you have done in his shoes? Share your opinion in the comments. And if you enjoy this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't want to miss new stories.